going to start a little early just because we can. Everyone's here, I think. Anyways, hi! We are back on House and Fata Morgana. Sorry we're starting a little bit early today. We may do this again if we do another solo stream this week. I've just got an early client this week, and so hitting bed like midnight and then having to be coherent by 5 a.m., it's a little bit of a stretch, but we'll see how it goes. But we are back on House and Fata Morgana tonight. I'm very excited to see where this goes. Can't wait to be absolutely heartbroken because that is how this has gone so far. But yeah, let's just get right back into our recap. So, Morgana's story was a conga line of traumatic abuses littered with Bible symbolism in which her unwed mom passed her off as the daughter of God whose blood can heal people. Mel, Yukimasa, and Jacopa are all reconstructions of her worst abusers who she wants to torment for eternity because of the hell they put her through in childhood, where she was variably called a saint and a witch as people wounded her for her blood. Like, let me point out, I wasn't super fond of any of them in their doors, but let me just say with my whole heart, fuck all three of them. Her greedy mom sold her into slavery to an ostentatiously wealthy lord who fed her blood in his banquets and became Jacopo. Some rebelling slaves saved her from getting killed, and she escaped to a brothel in a slum where she just judged the prostitutes that took care of her but came around to appreciate them as people. On her 12th birthday, bandits raided the brothel and enslaved them. A man with them went on a rampage, took a sword, and slaughtered the slavers. This Yukimasa incarnation freed her and killed the rest of the slaves for fun, so she took residence in a dead apothecary's house where she gave her blood to a boy for his little sister, who was Nellie. The boy started out friendly but became colder when his sister got sick again. The boy that became Mel eventually betrayed Morgana and chopped off her arm. Then Yukimasa captured her for the Lord again to use the reward money for another Saintess, who was probably Pauline. Saintess' church. Then she was sealed in the tower, and the three milked her blood to sell miracle wine until she died. Mel snitched about the blood in the wine, and the city died in the ensuing riot. Yeah, like, they all rioted, so it all already fell apart, and then they all died to, like, mysterious sickness, so as they kind of deserve. I have very little sympathy for any of these people, as you can see. Morgana wrote off her blessing as the placebo effect, and her curse is a mundane disease that she spread. She put the men's reconstructions through ironic fates. As Michael, we experienced Morgana's physical pain and apologized for not trying to relate to her sooner, but we're still not giving up on Giselle. So she pitted Giselle against us by confirming with our hidden letter that Michael is actually Abby, giving Giselle Transpanic. Yeah, she rejected us last stream, so dark times ahead. Let's get into it then. That's fair, yeah. It does seem like it would be really hard to figure out what is an intentional and what is a coincidental Bible reference count, especially considering how much of literature these days actually pulls from the Bible and such. Okay. When I learned my father Antonin had passed, I wrote 2 letters, one to my brother and one to my mother. It was the first time I had found the courage to face my mother, to open up to her. I wanted to show her who I was, convince her that I wasn't cursed, so I could be myself when I returned to the capital with Giselle. Dear Mother, there is something I wish to tell you, something that means a great deal to me. So I ask of you, please hear me out. And I ask of you, please accept it. Mother, I no longer bear any resentment for my present lot in life. Nevertheless, I would ask of you to concede one thing, that I was never cursed, that I was always your son, that I am Michael, not Michel. I have found someone who I care for deeply, a woman, and I love her with all my heart. I would like to spend the rest of my life with her. I do not wish for much, simply to have a quiet life with her, to go through our days together, man and woman. That is the one thing I want. Mother, I know you're aware that my body is no longer female. I am a man. My heart is male. And I ask of you to please accept that. I have no grudge with you. In fact, I'm incredibly grateful to you for bringing me into this world. With love, your dearest son. Shortly after sending that letter, I was killed. Well, now that kind of brings a whole new like dimension to like the brother possibly sending the army that for yeah, okay. Oh, that hurts. Okay. I'm dragged down against my will into the darkness. Beneath me spreads my own past. My door, the door I swore never to open. But despite all my efforts to resist, the door sucks me in into a world I never wanted to see again, a history I never wanted revealed, a past I never wanted anyone to see. Nonetheless, the door opens. That's fair. Yeah, if we were born intersex and have some sort of like complex stuff going down there, that might be why they thought we're a demon. Okay, we're in the seventh door. 1086 to who the fuck knows? I mean, I'm trying to decide whether like Morgana the witch actually does have any magical powers. It kind of feels like she must, at least at this point, right? Because we've lived this many years. The mansion is I don't know if it's separated from time or space or whatever it is. Um but she could have also done something as well. Like maybe that's how we get together with Morgana. I don't know. We'll find out. There were two things out of the ordinary about that baby. The first, its parents embraced, and the second, they wholly rejected. Although it was some time before the baby's second peculiarity emerged, and until it finally did, no one was any the wiser, not even the child itself. Its mother surely enjoyed that brief period of happiness before her child finally realized the truth. Blind to the fact that the moment it had let out its first cry, everything came crashing down. To this day, she still doesn't know the child she gave birth to, that she let loose a curse upon the world, a curse that turned angels into demons, humans into witches. Yeah, that is fair. Yeah, the mansion has lived through the Rhodes family, Japanese European trading, and the American railroad industry. So it likely was not in the same spot the whole time. I think it was Jacopo's route that I finally realized that. Like I figured like maybe the Rose Mansion, the Rose Garden, and the European village were the same, but yeah, then all of a sudden we were talking about the New World, and it was like that doesn't seem right. So I don't know exactly where our mansion is logically, other than there's nothing logical about it. We'll find out. My God, look at that. She's beautiful, isn't she? Have you seen her laugh? Not yet, I haven't. At any rate, that color certainly is something else. God's gift to us. No, she's an angel sent from heaven. An angel. Yes, I can see it now, Lydia. Her white hair and almost translucent skin. It's beautiful. Uh, that's fair. It is in Fata Morgana. My, she opened her eyes. Maybe she felt you nearby. Do you like your father more than me? Happy Father's Day. Is that it, sweetheart? Gorgeous, aren't they? Such a deep, enchanting color, like two little jewels. That they are. A magnificent shade of red. Uh, I've never seen anything like it. And this is our child. She's special. I can feel it. We have to take good care of her, by rejecting them, locking them in a mansion for this long. It's fine. Taking good care.
She needs a name, one that's just as special as her. Have you already chosen, Antony?
Y- you were the one begging for a girl. You do it. Besides, I already had to rack my brain for the boys' names. Now it's your turn.
Are you really going to let me?
My, that's quite a lot of pressure.
Name her after an angel, then. Oh, I like that. All right, then. We'll call her Michelle, after the Archangel Michael.
Okay, I should point out I've never seen The Son of the Mask because I've never seen the Mask movies. I've heard of them. I kind of know what they are, but they seem to have fallen out of favor and by the time I moved. Anyways, but that is amazing. That's a great little gag.
You'll grow up to be as beautiful as an angel, my Michelle. I've always wanted a little girl. With her snowy white hair, skin so pale you could see the veins beneath it, and her ruby red eyes. She was a very peculiar looking little girl, and her mother showered her with love. She truly believed her daughter was an angel sent from above, born as a human child. The blessed babe, born a girl, was given an angel's name, Michelle, me. Checkmate.
That she's a little bit older than I thought she was going to be. I fucked that voice up. I see. That's what you did. Curses, I completely overlooked that. I thought you were advancing with your pawns, but that was all a diversion.
You're too short sighted, Didier. You need to look at the big picture. Sometimes it's the tactician and not the soldier holding the sword.
You got me. You're quite good at this, Michelle. What inspired you to take such an aggressive strategy?
It was not inspiration, it was derivation.
Derivation.
Chess is in many ways similar to real war tactics. Real war tactics.
Ah, my military texts. You haven't read all of them, have you?
I have nothing but time.
Impressive. Even I haven't read all the books in my room. You planning to join the order with that kind of knowledge?
You jest. You're the one who's going to be a knight, Didier.
That I am. War is the men's job, after all. You. I want you to be there to welcome me home.
Didier! Didier! I'm in a bit of a bind. Could you.
Oh, hello there, Michelle.
I didn't know you were home, Georges.
Just got back, yeah? Playing chess again, are you? Let's see, what do we have here? Get away from the board.
Yikes, you got trounced, huh?
And you call yourself her big brother. As if you're any better.
That's not funny, Georges. I cannot approve of someone who can't keep up with the flow of battle becoming a knight. Given our family's rank, you would eventually be put in charge of other soldiers.
What, are you worried about me?
No, I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. I've been blessed with such a caring sister. But fear not. I have a guardian angel after all.
Where's the logic in that?
Uh, sorry to interrupt your, moment, but
Does nobody listen to me?
no, don't pout. George. I can do that. George. Now what happened? Bleh. And now I can't read English. And now what seems to be the problem, George?
Yeah, listen to this. The royal court is holding a short swordsmanship show.
I just need to end stream here. I'm doing great.
And for some reason, I was selected to participate.
How unfortunate for you. I can already see you on the ground sobbing.
Hey now, that's just mean.
Besides, my hands weren't meant to hold a sword. Look at these dainty fingers.
They're covered in calluses.
Dainty calluses? Tell me, why would they have an artist sword fight? That's the whole point, I would think. No need to get so worked up. No one's expecting you to win. Maybe not, but we do have a name to worry about. And you know what that means, don't you? I'm going to lose. That's a given. But I want to do it in style. I feel bad for your sword. Don't be like that. Now come on, time's a wasting. To the courtyard we go. Just so you know, if I train you, I'm going to train you right. All I want to know is how to look good.
Um,
Hmm? What is it, Michelle?
may I watch?
Fine with me. But you know you can't go outside.
I'll be watching from the hall. I can open one of the windows facing the courtyard.
Still, you need to be careful. You can't spend too much time out in the sun.
I know.
Yeah, this seems like a happy family. Certainly none of us will ever try to kill or cuck each other. I just realized, like, the whole reveal that we were flirting with our brother's girlfriend or fiance or whatever now has a slightly different meaning. I like it, don't get me wrong. Um, but I like it.
I had two older brothers. The eldest, Didier, belonged to an order of knights that served the church, and below him was Georges, who served it as a court artist. He was, in all likelihood, who would inherit the family estate, as knights were not formally allowed to own property. Nevertheless, the Bollinger family was upheld by Didier. And then there was me, the youngest, the only daughter. Physically, I was not in particularly good health. Because of the color of my skin, I was hypersensitive to sunlight. I rarely left the estate. My world was contained entirely within these walls. And perhaps out of some sense of pity or compassion, my two brothers spent a good deal of time with me. Didier played chess with me, and Georges taught me how to draw. And among other things, they taught me how to read and write. For a girl, I was incredibly fortunate. The one thing I wasn't allowed to do, though, was hold a sword. While hardly anything unusual, it bothered me deeply, and it had for as long as I could remember. If I had been told I couldn't do it because I lacked the strength, I probably would have accepted it. But the reason given was not that I was weak, but that I was a girl. And with each passing year, that smoldering frustration in the back of my heart grew larger. Girl, I get that. Or not, girl. Bro? I get that. Anyways, there we go. We were taking cues from George when we tried to draw Giselle's obese rats. Buddy, there we go. Buddy's a better one. Um, but I get that. Come on, put your back into it. Like I said, all I want to do is put on a good show. Oh, you'll put on quite a show, unless you learn how to swing that sword properly. Give me a break. Out in the garden, my two brothers traded swings bare chested. All I could do, though, was observe from afar. And every time I found myself forced to watch, I felt a sharp pain, like a needle piercing my chest. A needle that seemed to be growing ever thicker. My mother and my brothers loved me dearly, but that didn't change the fact that the outside world lay beyond my reach. I was trapped in the estate by my own body. At first, I thought that was the root of my pain, but that answer seemed to contradict something inside me, something I couldn't explain, something I couldn't ignore, even as a child. So I searched within myself, trying to find an explanation for the constantly swelling sensation of wrongness inside me. Day after day, I gazed into the cavern of my own heart. My. Now what are the two of them doing out there? Georges was asked to do a swordsmanship show at the royal court, so Didier is helping him.
Yeah, exactly. Gender dysphoric witch. This absolutely is Umineko. Uh, Swordsmanship. I just can't stand those shows.
Blades are so dangerous. I can't watch people swinging them at each other. Why don't you come back to your room with me, Michelle? I would love to teach you how to sew. But, Mom, I want to watch them practice. Michelle, first of all, you need to watch how you speak, young lady. You do not call me Mom, you call me Mother.
Okay, weird hill to die on, but whatever.
This is what happens when you spend so much time around boys. As your mother, I don't approve of you playing chess or making art.
Well, you know what? Fuck you, Mom.
A woman has no need for such skills. They will only make you look insolent. But I want you to grow up to be a respectable woman. That is my job and my dream as your mother.
Okay, ignoring all the gender dysphoria stuff and, like gender identity, sexual identity, whatever. Fuck being a respectable woman. Like, just fuck it completely.
How come? I would rather you looked at some fine embroidery with me than a couple of sweaty men. Yes, Mother. You are my little girl after all.
Exactly. Fuck the patriarchy.
Spending time with my mother was agonizing.
Was it because her world was so
Isolated? No, that wasn't it. Her gentle voice, the sweet scent of her perfume, the way she constantly told me how much she loved me, and her diatribes about how wonderful it was to be a girl. Everything she did put so much pressure on me. But above all, she loved to say, "You are my little girl after all." And there was nothing strange about that at all. Every time I looked in the mirror, I saw the daughter of a noble. That was who I was. So the only thing wrong was how I felt. But every time I was faced with the reality of who I was, my heart wavered.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. You can't even ignore the gender dysphoria aspect because all systemic oppression is interconnected. It was less about, like, actually ignoring that and more like removing it all completely from, this whole thing from the context. Anyone ever tells you to be a respectable woman, just tell them to fuck themselves. Um,
I had no interest in learning to embroider. I didn't understand why that was necessary. I knew what purpose it served. Everything she taught me I would need when I was wed off to some noble boy, and it was my responsibility to learn those things. It didn't feel right, though. I couldn't even accept the fact that one day I would be married. It was but an ominous shadow lurking in my future. I would have preferred ravening the books in Didier's room than having a conversation with my mother. Tales of heroes of old and dauntless soldiers, military texts written by tacticians in the midst of war. Thinking about them set my heart aflutter and made me think about my brother. He was training to be a knight. I envisioned armor flecked with rust, a longsword glimmering with the blood of savages. Soon I found myself in my fantasies, imagining how the sword would feel in my hands. The sensation of the hilt beneath my fingers, swinging it gallantly, like my brother.
I want to know where exactly we are at this moment because, like, exactly, we can't imagine being married until there's Giselle. Right now, our marriage does not really seem to be likely, but anyways, like, what kind of wars are we getting into? France, maybe, yeah.
How heavy was it? How much muscle would I need to carry it? How much impact would I feel in my hands when I struck something? How restricted would my vision be wearing a helmet? How much did it weigh? How hot was it inside? I had no way of answering any of those questions, though.
Kill me now.
I have some cloth, if you'd like to wipe yourself off.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Ugh, I'm so dead.
You were at it for a long time.
I've never known D to half ass something once he gets started, which I guess is what makes him knight material, but
Are you opposed to him becoming a knight?
Well, I'd kind of assumed he'd inherit the estate and handle taking care of everything. So it's like, why's he gotta go and be some priest's whipping boy?
Don't tell him I said that, though. He wants to fight for the greater good.
I don't know. Despite the name, he wouldn't be doing much fighting himself. Anywho, someone as passionate as him might be able to make changes for the better.
Changes.
He knows what condition the order's in. That's why he's joining. Figure he wants to whip him into shape, melt him down, and reforge the whole thing.
Huh. So he might be able to change things.
What? What are you muttering about, Michelle? Hey! Whoa, hold it!
The pain I felt in my chest when I looked at the sweat emanating from George's body, when I looked at his slender but distinctly male build, I was convinced it was admiration. Did I want to become a knight too? Maybe the discomfort I felt was because I wanted to be like him. Would it all go away if he were able to change the rules and I could join the order as well? I was positive it would.
Might be the Norman conquest? Yeah, possibility. They've been pretty good so far about also not putting country names on things. I assume for obvious reasons. So I guess we don't even know if this is actually based in reality. So inspired by likely, but
Didier,
Michelle, hold on. You can't come barging into my room unannounced. I'm trying to change.
we need to talk.
I said stop. You're a girl. You can't just walk in on a man as he's changing.
I see no reason for you to be so self conscious.
Listen to me, Michelle.
George tells me you're planning to overhaul the order.
He told you that. No, I hardly have such grand aspirations.
Don't be coy. I believe you have what it takes to do it, Didier.
What's gotten into you? You're unusually fiery today.
So I want to ask you a favor. When you have enough influence in the order, I would like you to make me a knight too.
You what?
I'm tired of the way Mother treats me. Always saying I can't do this or that because I'm a girl. I want to learn how to swing a sword. I don't want to do embroidery. I don't care about jewelry or fancy clothing.
Michelle, what's gotten into you?
I'm so much more interested in the world you live in, Didier. So please.
Well, I'll be. I suppose we must have let ourselves spend too much time with you.
Not you too. That's exactly what Mother said.
First of all, Michelle, you don't have the strength to hold a sword.
Then I'll train until I do. And if that doesn't work, I still have my mind. You know good and well I could.
People are not chess pieces, Michelle.
But Didier.
But above all, you're missing the most important point. I will not, for any reason, become the kind of man who makes a woman take up a sword.
Didier.
This may seem normal to you, growing up with two brothers, but I want you to listen to me, Michelle. Men and women walk different paths. Fuck you. Men wield swords and fight against dangerous enemies, and they do so to protect the weak, women and children. I am here to protect you and your mother.
You're no different than her. You don't treat me any different than her.
Honestly, what's gotten into you, Michelle? Why wouldn't I treat you like a daughter of the Bollinger estate? Your brother and I, we never meant to make you think.
Forget it.
What?
I'm sorry. I knew what I was asking was foolish.
Uh, oh?
But I thought you would understand how I feel. Even just a little bit.
What was I expecting him to understand? Even I didn't understand the things I felt. I wanted to know what had gotten into me far more than he did. What I had done was no better than throw a temper tantrum. Was I that desperate to become a knight? No. I had just thought that the key to the
to the chains in my heart lay down that road. But ultimately, there was nothing. Assuming Didier had agreed, and assuming I did become a knight, it wouldn't do anything for the core problem. As I dashed from my brother's room, I snuck a peek at him. His face was filled with an intense perplexity. And how could I blame him? I had tried to push a dozen different ideals onto him at once, filled myself with the vain hope that he would somehow be able to make sense of me when I couldn't even make sense of myself. And now, bubbling with unwarranted anger at being let down, I fled to my own chambers. I can only imagine how frustrating that must have been for him.
That's true. Yeah, they did attach Jacopo's story to a specific real life event in American rail history. So,
It was the spring of my 14th year. Heavy clouds filled the sky, blocking out the sun and giving the impression of late evening all throughout the day. I, for one, preferred it when the sun wasn't out. Not that sunlight would kill me, but if it was bright enough, the whole world was so white I could hardly see a thing, which meant I could only go outside on days when the weather made most everyone else gloomy. Hmm? As I was meandering through the courtyard, I spotted someone I had never seen before.
oh, she's cute.
A warm breeze blew past, sending up a swirl of flower petals. The girl's dress hung lightly over her frame, tracing her gentle curves. Who are you? I asked bluntly, and the girl twirled around, smiling. My apologies. You just have such a beautiful courtyard here, and I let myself in for a little walk. Long chestnut hair flowed over round, feminine shoulders. It swayed slightly in the wind. The cloud of melancholy dissipated in the light of her smile. You must be Michelle. You're just as pretty as I heard. And you are. My name is Amy. It's a pleasure to finally meet you. Finally meet me? What was she talking about? As I stood there, baffled by this strange woman, she stepped towards me, kissing me softly on the cheek. I'm thrilled to make your acquaintance, Michelle. Her voice was like someone pouring honey into my ear, electrifyingly sweet. I'm Georges' fiancé. And it also stuck another needle into my chest. She was a noble girl by the name of Amy Joubert. Though only 15, she was the very image of refined, polished to a shine. No one had told me my brother was to be married. It came out of nowhere, and it seemed I was the only one who didn't know. That evening, when the family gathered around the table for supper, Amy was there too, and they prepared an extravagant feast for the occasion. My father Antonin looked so proud of his two boys, Didier soon to receive his assignment, and Georges soon to be wed. The banquet proceeded smoothly, not a doubt in the air that we were a happy family. But my mind was elsewhere. I found myself unconsciously chasing Amy with my eyes, watching the way those slender fingers gripped her spoon, her full lips parting to allow a piece of fruit in. Her deep red tongue, visible but for the briefest of moments. The way all the muscles in her face seemed to relax in bliss as sweet juices seeped into her mouth. The way she spoke, so soft and gentle, letting each sound hang in the air just briefly before intoning the next. She was distinctly feminine, in a different way than my mother. Apparently, Amy was going to be living at the Bullinger estate for some time. Mother was pleased to have another girl around.
Or more specifically, she was relieved to have found someone other than my brothers for me to spend time with.
I had assumed I would hate being around another girl.
Surely she wouldn't be able to play chess after all.
But for some reason, I felt much less suffocated around her than my mother.
Feminine in a way that makes our puberty kick in. I'm very interested in the fact that apparently she's literally never had a conversation with another girl. Like, just based off of, like, do they not have female servants or anything? Like, is she just like, oh my god, girl?
One night, Amy's family and an array of nobles from both houses' social circles assembled at the estate for a party. A din the likes of which I had never heard in my life filled the great hall. Everywhere I looked, there were people, people, people. Servants scrambled every which way. Silverware clanged against dishes in an almost constant hum. Voices from all directions. I felt moderately ill.
Hey, D, I feel like we're critically short on waiters. This don't look good for us. And who was it who went about inviting everyone he came across again? Who are those people?
They're artistes like me. I met them at the court. Let's see, we have some painters, composers, sculptors, troubadours, poets, writers, you name it. None of them have any connection to the Joberts or the Bollingers.
Sure they do. They're my friends.
And this is me and Amy's party.
You can play with your friends elsewhere. I hope you realize we have a reputation to uphold.
Off in one corner, several men, presumably Georges' friends, gathered in a circle. They stood out from the other aristocrats, both in appearance and the air they gave off, the clothes they wore, the embroidery hidden beneath their jacket cuffs, their manner of speech, the way they held themselves. They were, simply put, a far cry from the hard-headed Didier's ideal party guests. Even watching them from afar, it was clear my two brothers ran in very different crowds. The only reason headstrong Didier and free-spirited Georges were able to get along at all was because they were brothers. If they had been strangers, I doubt their paths would cross much, and if they did, those intersections would be quite rocky.
Hey, come here, guys. Oops. Georges' shouting voice pulled my preoccupied mind back to the surface.
He summoned his friends, then led them to where I stood.
What are you doing hiding in the corner, Michel? I didn't even notice you.
Allow me to introduce you to a few of my friends.
Oh, no, Georges put his hand on my shoulders, peeling me off the wall and standing me in front of his male friends. Socialization was the last thing on my mind. I searched for Didier, hoping he would come to my rescue, but he was off trading pleasantries, facing away from me. Well, what use is he then?
This is my baby sister, Michel. Be nice.
Georges, I don't. Graces, your skin is even more pale than I imagined. It's like something out of a fairy tale. And why have you never brought her with you to the court? She'd be a sure hit. And how old are you now? 12, mayhap?
Now, don't treat the lady like a child. I'll have you know she's 14.
All the more reason she should be out there making friends. The whole court would flip if they knew you had such a gorgeous sister, Georges. She's right there. What is with dudes and being creepy?
Don't be a brute, my man. Our little angel has to be kept inside for personal reasons.
Uh-oh, sounds like I haven't been showing the lady her due respect. I've yet to even properly introduce myself. How rude indeed.
Their laughs grated on my nerves,
and so did the way Georges spoke as though I was his property.
They looked like they were appraising me, which made me sick to my stomach. I'd been paying enough attention to notice the man who had asked if I was 12, and the rest of them too, examining me from head to toe in search of curves.
I was, indeed, underdeveloped for 14. But what did that matter? I didn't want a body shaped like Amy's or my mother's. Now then, my lady, a proper greeting. The man got down on one knee before me. For a split second, I didn't comprehend what he was doing. Go on, Michel. He's waiting. He whispered into my ear. That was when it all came back to me. The traditional greeting performed between a man and a woman.
Come on, Michel. Don't tell me you forgot what to do.
I knew. I knew the process. I had that knowledge. Mother had taught me the rules, shown me the procedure. I was to present my hand to the man, for him to kiss. All I had to do was hold out my hand, but I was frozen. My body fought tooth and nail against the simple act. The thought of that man putting his lips on my skin sent a chill through me. Why? Why was this a traditional greeting? Why did I have to go through this?
Michel!
But at the sound of Georges' frantic voice, my arm creaked up from my side. Then I remembered that despite being his friends, they were still nobility.
As wanton and as his social interactions may have been, he still had a reputation to maintain. And I understood that. I also understood that, as their sister, it was my responsibility not to do anything that might tarnish either of my brothers' names. Also, by tradition, that man wasn't supposed to actually kiss the woman's hand. The proper way to do it required he simply mimic the act, rather than make real contact. That much I could handle. The man kneeling before me gave an uncomfortable chuckle at my reluctance, shrugged, and reverently took my hand in his. And then he pressed his lips firmly against my chin. Creep. Ugh. Mm. There was a vaguely warm sensation on the back of my hand for the briefest moment. What do you? Reflexively, I smacked the man's hand away. Georges' eyes went wide in horror, and the man gave another playful shrug. I was merely offering you a greeting, my lady. Or is even that a new experience to you? Your innocence is truly precious. I was half a second away from throwing a barrage of insults, but I bit my tongue and stomped off instead. But, Michel! Hey, come back, Michel! I had spent all that time convincing myself I couldn't humiliate my brothers, but now I wouldn't hear a word of it. I had drawn a fair bit of attention, and other people tried to stop me too, but I brushed them all off, marching my way out of the great hall. Exactly. You want to know what else of mine is precious? Just murder him. My knife. He just ran into my knife 10 times. I feel so dirty. You called that a greeting? No, that was no greeting. That was. I'll be taking that, I say, practically swiping a glass of water off a passing waiter's tray. Okay, lay off the poor guy. He didn't do anything. With it, I washed my hand by the window facing the courtyard. But no matter how much water I poured over it, I couldn't erase the sickening sensation of his mouth on my hand. So I rubbed it with my sleeve until my skin was bright red. I wanted to feel something else. Anything else. Even pain. Think before you act, George. What were you doing inviting people like that into our home? I was angry, and I had every right to be. He had not performed the proper greeting. Even in jest, he had no business actually putting his lips on my hand. It was not acceptable behavior for an aristocrat. He was a guest. He should have been ashamed. Was I angry that he had been disrespectful? No, that wasn't the reason. It was. That wasn't very nice of you, running off like that. At the sound of his voice, I couldn't turn back. I felt a sickening warmth almost directly against my back. Okay, creep. Absolute creep. We should just kill him. The man from the great hall grabbed me by the wrists, spun me around, and pressed me against the wall. The bitter scent of wine wafted from above. What the hell are you doing? I tried a second time to get away from him, and that was when reality sunk in. I couldn't do it. All the strength I could muster wasn't enough to make the man's hand budge. My arms were locked in place. I didn't think he was especially strong either. He was hardly built like Didier. And still, I couldn't move an inch. You've got a tongue like a boy, my lady. But I know some people are fond of that these days. Can't say I mind myself. Let go! Had I always been this feeble? Were my arms truly so worthless I couldn't even escape this brute's grip? Exactly. If you try to force feed us your sausage, we will bite it off permanently. Why did I have to get stuck with this body? Now, just so we're clear, I'm not going to hurt you. I'm no monster. I promise you that. Then why are you holding me against the wall? Because I want a chance to try and woo you. You're not doing very good. Like, there's two strikes there, my dude. I apologize if I made you uncomfortable back there, but the second I laid eyes on you, I knew you were a keeper. Then let go of me. But if I do that, you'll run away. And it's my personal rule to never let go of anything I like. Your brother says you can't go outside, so if I let you loose now, I might never get a chance to catch you again. I wanted to vomit. Apparently, taking my silence for approval, the man perked up and kept going. If you're not accustomed to being around men, then why not use this as an opportunity to get familiar? not a half bad idea if I do say so myself, and I think we'd get along quite well. Besides, I'm a minstrel. Spend some time with me, and I'll write you all the songs you could possibly want.
Great. Write a song for you to leave to.
Get away from me! You really do have the most striking eyes. Makes me want to keep them all for myself.
That is a serial killer line, my dude. Like, there is no reason that whatsoever. That is just creepy.
With a muse like that, I could write the most incredible songs you've ever heard. I said get back, you creep!
Huh, that's odd.
That one's never failed me. The man brought his face in just inches from mine and peered into my eyes. I could feel his hot, wine-stenched breath against my cheeks. Oh, it gave me the chills. I couldn't understand why this was happening to me. Panic and confusion had my heart racing. Go try your luck with someone else. I'm not interested. You will be soon enough, darling. You've simply never known a man's touch. He drew closer. He was already practically on top of me, but still he closed in. Closer and closer. The world faded out. I couldn't see anything. I could feel his rising body heat so near it made me nauseous. My eyes flung open, but there was nothing there. I could only feel. I couldn't move. My body wouldn't budge. In my mind, I kicked the man away, pulled my fist back and slammed it into his jaw. Again and again and again until his face was unrecognizable. Again and again and again and again I beat him. But reality would have none of that. Michel! Hey, what do you think you're doing? 3 seconds? 10 seconds? Longer? I had no idea how much time I had lost. But the next thing I knew, Georges had the man by the collar. I fell back against the wall, staring absent-mindedly as the two struggled. They traded blows and they traded insults. Before long, they had drawn a crowd. While they went at it, I distractedly drifted away. And I only had one place to go.
Exactly. We don't need a man's touch. We need Giselle. We have standards.
I didn't even bother to light a candle. I just stared into the darkness. My heartbeat was maddeningly loud in my otherwise silent chambers. What had happened? What had he done to me? Why couldn't I do anything? The last thing I wanted to do was cry. Tears would only serve to worsen my humiliation, only magnify how wretched I was, only make me more afraid. I bit down on my lip hard. I had no need for that trash on my body. I dug my nails into my arms. I had no need for that trash on my body. All of this, every last bit of it. That was why I was the way that I was. I didn't know how to put it into words. I didn't know how to express this boundless frustration within me. But after enough wordless groaning, a single word slipped past my lips, and it felt incredibly right. God damn it! I knew good and well a girl should not be using such words. Even Didier and Georges would have gotten an earful from mother or father if they were caught saying that. Regardless, God damn it! It was the most fitting word I could come up with to represent even the smallest bit of my anger and loathing. I knew all I was doing was shifting the blame, that all it would accomplish was making me look pitiful. But I would take that over crying like a girl any day. I let loose a sigh that was halfway to being a scream, then started clawing wildly at my hair. I wanted to yank out every last damn strand of it. I didn't want it. I didn't want any of it. Any of this body. But in that case, what did I want from my body? Michel? May I come in, Michel? It was Georges' voice, slightly muffled through the door. The man who had invited those people into this house. I would be lying if I said I didn't hold that against him. Michel, but at the same time, he had also come to my rescue. Besides, I hated myself the most. I despised myself for being so helpless. I'm sorry, Michelle. I didn't mean to hurt you. It's not locked. After a few moments of silence, Georges stepped into my room. Your hair's a mess, Michelle. And my God, you're bleeding. That was when I first noticed the stinging sensation in my lower lip. A metallic taste spread through my mouth. I'd been biting it much harder than I realized, and there was a lot more blood than I expected. A trail of it was running down my chin, seconds from spilling onto my clothes when Georges wiped it away. I'm really sorry, Michelle. He can be a real ass when he drinks. And he's a bit of a womanizer at that. Womanizer? Freudian slip there. I never expected he'd try to go after you, though. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. But, there's a chance he may have, genuinely taken a liking to you. That just makes it worse. Uh, Sorry. You're right. You want to be with a man you like. I understand. He ran his hands through my hair as if trying to calm me down, at the same time cleaning up the mess I had made of it. It made me feel like I was some kind of plaything, a joke of a doll. I don't. Huh? I don't want to be with anyone. I would never, ever be comfortable with a man putting his hands on me like that. However, I'm sure you'll find someone eventually, Michelle. Someone that feels right for you. I feel kind of awful for introducing you to him, but there are plenty of men in the world. You might not be interested now, but that'll change soon. It's part of growing up, is it? You'd be best off forgetting today ever happened. I was dead certain, but apparently that wasn't enough to convince him. No, you are going to have to convince people that you want to be alone for like every single day of your life. I'm just going to put that out there from experience. So the very idea that I might one day meet a man who I wanted to touch me, made my skin crawl. Why? Why did I feel like this? Was I just not interested in men? No, if that was the case, I wouldn't admire my brother's bodies. Okay, that came out weird. I didn't have an aversion to men. In fact, I enjoyed spending time with my brothers far more than indulging my mother in her woman's world. What I couldn't stand was the particular look men would sometimes give me. But why? Why did I not like that? I had no answer. My thoughts were only going in circles. I'm sorry. I feel like no one should ever really like it if someone is looking at you like you are an object. Like, maybe that's a hot take, but like, if someone looks at you like that, run. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Are you okay, Michelle? He peered down at me, his face twisted in concern. But I couldn't answer him. How was I supposed to articulate this? My anger, my frustration, my irritation, my fear. I had no confidence he would understand. Georges, how's Michelle? Amy's voice came from the doorway. Inexplicably, I felt like someone had stuck their hand in my chest and was now squeezing my heart. Like I had just been caught in a compromising position by the last person I wanted to see me. Yeah, she's doing good. Aren't you? Yes, I'm fine. Glad to hear it. Exactly. You can only objectify me if I give you explicit permission to do so. Otherwise, back off. But also, I know me, I am never going to give that explicit permission to like anyone. You can desire me in whatever way, but as soon as we get into object form, we're done. Back off. I was clearly lying, not even looking him in the eyes when I'd said that, but that seemed to have gone over George's head. Amy, on the other hand, you don't look fine at all, she said, a hint of pain in her voice, and then entered the room. George, father was asking for you. He says it's time to bring the gathering to a close. You should get going. I'll stay here with her.
Oh, is he? All right then. Sounds good.
Once the sound of George's footsteps had faded into nothing, Amy took a seat beside me and, without warning, wrapped her arms around my shoulders. It's much better to talk to another girl at times like this. My heart leapt into my throat, but beyond the shock, I also found myself welcoming the warmth. It was pleasant, unlike the man's. That must have been terrifying. But don't worry, you're safe now. It wasn't really, no. No need to pretend, sweetie. If a man had me pinned against a wall, I'd be scared too. I mean it. I wasn't scared. I'm just disappointed in myself. All right, I believe you. You're a strong girl, Michelle. There aren't many who wouldn't have been scared. I'll be sure to give George a stern talking to about his choices and friends.
Why is she talking to us like she's our second mom? She's a year older than us.
Something I learned today is that he's somewhat of a pushover. You're a lot more tenacious than I thought. As a woman in this world, you have to be. And if you're not, well, you'll figure it out soon enough, Michelle. Of course, even as strong as you are, I'm sure it'll still be difficult to forget what happened to you today. George had told me to forget about it as soon as possible, and Amy that I wouldn't be able to. Was it the difference in their individual perspectives? Or was it the difference between the way men and women thought? I wasn't sure. As my head rested against her breast, a bit of my frustration slipped out. I couldn't move my arms at all. He didn't even seem all that strong.
I mean, that's fair. There are different maturity levels across ages. I'm assuming that it's also just at this point, Amy is primed to become a wife. So, she's already been through she basically is going to have to give up her entire life to go live with her new husband and likely pump out kids and all of that. So she's already stepping into that sort of role, I'm guessing. Whereas Michelle has been, the baby for ages. So
I couldn't believe that I was really so weak. That's just the way of the world, Michelle. Men are physically stronger than women, so you'll almost never overpower one. You're not any weaker than a normal girl. Don't blame yourself. Though it wasn't the consolation I had hoped for, her words still filled me with warmth. I had exploited my own weakness to hear more of that soothing voice, and I alone knew how foolish I was in doing so. Amy frequently visited my chambers. I didn't know if it was at Mother's request or of her own volition, but I prayed it was the latter. She was a very touchy-feely person, and she seemed to have a particular fondness for playing with my hair. Whenever her voice danced its way into my ears, it would wreak havoc inside me. Being enveloped in her scent day after day stoked the fire growing within me. I did my best to remain as straight-faced as possible because the last thing I wanted was her catching on. I understood that the things that I was feeling were untoward, to say the least. Your hair is so utterly enchanting. I've never seen hair so white before. I think having color is much prettier. Oh? Well, Georges says white is the most difficult color to make with paint. There's no greater challenge than capturing the beauty of true white. Living with such a splendid example of the color must have given him a very high standard of quality. Say, Michelle, maybe you could tell me about yourself today. I would love to get to know you better. Tell you about myself? Yeah, we could become even better friends if we found some mutual interests. I enjoy playing chess.
oh no, what's happening to our ovaries? Puberty has kicked in.
I, and I consider myself quite good. Oh my, chess? I've never played. You're such a bright girl, Michelle. Would you like to try? I could teach you. I appreciate the offer, but I think I'll pass. I doubt I would be any good. Oh, okay. What else is there? Say, your favorite kind of flower, fragrance, color of gemstone. Are there any embroidery patterns you're particularly skilled at? I don't have any favorites, no. And I'm not especially good with a needle either. No. Do you have shaky hands then? I wouldn't say that, no. I'm, fairly good with a knife, I think.
That is the best response I've ever heard.
A knife? Oh, like a kitchen knife? No, a sculpting knife. Sculpting? Is that really so strange? Hmm, it is a bit unusual, I would say. But Georges does it all the time. His room is practically made of wood chips and charcoal and paint. Georges is an artist and a man. There's nothing unusual about him doing some sculpting.
I have never understood why art was supposedly a male thing. Like, I know it's because the women were busy doing other shit, but, like, come on.
Why is it okay for him but not me? What does being a girl really make that much of a difference? Well, mm, why don't we practice embroidery together, Michelle? I get the feeling you've spent too much time with your brothers. But now you have me. I'm sure it won't be long before you appreciate how much fun cooking and needlework can be. She sounds just like Mother. And she gives the same reason, too. Because I'm a girl. But that's not an explanation. It's a vague generalization. That said, if I agree, I can spend more time with her. Okay. Wonderful. We'll come up with beautiful designs together. And when you've made something you're proud of, you can give it to a boy who catches your eye. Or if you prefer, you could give it to your father or your brother. I would like Georges to have what I make, though.
Patriarchy is illogical.
Oh, I've been wondering. Did you and Georges meet at the royal court? Oh, heavens, no. I've never been to the court. One day my father told me I was getting married, and the next day is when we first met. It happened that quickly? What, are you worried about me, Michelle? Don't worry. I'm not displeased with the arrangement. In fact, I'm quite happy with it. Aristocratic marriages are almost always sudden. And as a woman, you get used to being a piece in their games. But Georges, he's different. He's a gentleman. A gentleman? Him? You sound surprised. I believe hedonist suits him better. Oh, I quite disagree. I have complete faith he'll do good by me.
I couldn't fathom where she found such confidence in him. That's because you're his sister. Um,
Especially a man she had only just met. How could she trust him at all? She was nothing but a pawn, and she knew it. So maybe she was just putting on an act. I had trouble believing her smile was anything but genuine, though. One day you'll meet the right man for you, Michelle. And he won't be a drunk like the guy from earlier. He'll be a kind, hard-working, respectable man.
or woman, like we found ourselves a kind, hardworking, respectable lady.
I would rather not find anyone. I suppose this is all still too soon for you, huh? Say, how old are you, Michelle? 14. Oh, wow. I assumed you were younger. Do I really look that young? No hard feelings. You're just like a tiny little doll. So small and slender. And look, not one bit of meat up here at all. Hey!
She playfully grabbed me from behind and started prodding at my chest. As her delicate fingers slid across my skin, I found myself gripped by very indecent urges.
Every heavy thump of my heart felt sinful. She couldn't know. I couldn't let her. Everything I'd been fighting to keep down came hurtling to the surface. You're so cold, you know that? She was touching me like it was nothing, caressing my hair. Was she this intimate with Georges? Or was it because I was a younger girl that she was so keen on putting her hands all over me?
She is absolutely calling us flat, yes.
Before I understood what I was feeling, my body acted. It was pure, unfiltered impulse. Huh? In my attempt to escape from her grip, I twisted around only to find my face inches from Amy's. Slowly gravitating closer, I pressed my lips against the corner of her mouth.
Well, that's one thing to do.
Uh, uh. Amy sat there flabbergasted.
I was equally aghast.
I'm sorry.
As I frantically put some distance between us, I'm sure my face was red as an apple, though I didn't know it at the time.
Well, that was certainly unexpected. I'm sorry. Did I make you uncomfortable touching you so much? Amy was smiling, though it looked forced. No, not at all. Then I must have startled you. I'm sorry. If I had let you go sooner, we could have avoided this accident. What do you mean?
Accident. Michelle, she's trying to let you out. Easy.
A kiss on the lips is. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't, Amy. I seem to have confused you somewhat, Michelle. What? I know I can be very touchy-feely with you, and you took that to mean you should do the same. No. You can't do that again, all right? If you want to kiss your friends, you do it on the cheek. Save the lips for the man you love. I should get going then. George starts getting cranky if I don't give him enough attention. Uh, Hold on, Amy. So long, Michelle. She wouldn't hear me out.
Once Amy had fled my chamber. Look, Michelle, she heard you out. She just politely rejected you and set boundaries. She, like, definitely a 14-year-old's interpretation of a whole relationship. Um, exactly. We apologize for kissing you without asking, but please never suggest we kiss a dude ever again.
Once Amy had fled my chambers, that was when I finally comprehended my own emotions. That she had stolen my heart. But Amy was George's fiancée.
No, that wasn't the problem.
My body was not meant for her love. I awoke in the middle of the night to pain in my joints. Not enough exercise, I guess. I tried bending and stretching my arms and legs, but it did nothing. So, after pondering on it for a bit, I decided to go for a late night walk to distract myself. Hmm? As I approached the corridor adjacent to the courtyard, I heard a woman's voice. I'm still concerned about staying here. Amy's voice. Doing my best to remain perfectly quiet, I pressed myself up against the wall by the window and listened in on their conversation. I knew it was improper to eavesdrop, but the sound of her voice had me frozen in place. It's Michelle. I'm afraid I've confused her. A tiny jolt ran down my spine, my muscles all tensing up at once. The sound of my name rising to her lips, but
Not in the way I would have liked.
she kissed me. Well, almost, but how could I have guessed she thought of me that way? Mother told me she didn't have any female friends, and asked me to be one for her, which is why.
So she had only been coming to see me because Mother had asked her to.
I had been afraid of that. Afraid that she wasn't there to be with me. That she had no fondness for me.
Okay, she didn't say that, though. She just said that that was why she started coming to see us. That my yearning for her was one-sided. Okay, that one we should have figured out.
She kind of scares me, the way she looks at me. Always watching every little move I make. I'm sensitive to that sort of thing. I can tell what's going through Michelle's mind. I managed to deflect it this time, but I should have never gotten friendly with her.
She had seen through me from day one. Understood what I was feeling before even I had.
It's disgusting. Homosexuality.
Homosexuality? Did I hear her right? Okay. I was on her side until this point, and now fuck her.
Something inside me crumbled, and with it came an intense sense of wrongness. There it was again. That overpowering discomfort. That fear coursing through my veins. That repulsion. That irritation. That apprehension. What on earth was I? Did I view Amy as a member of the same sex?
Exactly. Amy, you don't have to reciprocate, but don't be a bigot either.
Did I, were the things I felt homosexual? I heard Amy sigh from beyond the window. Then the man beside her, who she was confiding all this in, replied, "She's still just a child." That voice? And one with underdeveloped social skills besides. Understand that she's going to do and say some inappropriate things. It's not uncommon for a child to mistake admiration for love. And I didn't know this until recently, but when she gets something into her head, she has a tendency to run it without thinking.
Was not the man's I had assumed it was.
The other day, she asked me to let her be a knight. I can't imagine how she thought that would end any other way. Why, it's not very often there are women other than mothers at the estate. I imagine she simply got nervous being around you and something got mixed up in her head. Why was Didier out there with her? I hope that's all it was.
Amy, hadn't you told me you thought Georges was a gentleman? So what were you doing? Getting so friendly with Didier? And Didier,
Weren't you my ally? Or was that all an act like her? You were going to be a knight.
so why were you out here with your brother's fiancée?
I'm glad to have you here, so I hope you can figure something out to make it work.
Oh no, more cuckoldry.
I'll do what I can, but... And I'm kind of reluctant to say this to you. But something has to change. As it is, she kind of grosses me out.
She grosses me out. So what? I was some kind of sick, disgusting creature?
All I had done was show feelings for her.
I couldn't be Georges or Didier.
The needles piercing me expanded, both in size and number. Soon I was being skewered by a dozen of them, and the heated sighs rising from the courtyard only served to make the pain worse. All I could do was cover my ears and run. Why? What were you doing out there, Didier? How am I gross, Amy? It's not real. It's all a bunch of lies. This entire house is nothing but a fraud.
Yeah, I mean, like, we were being kind of creepy, but it's also exacerbated by the bigotry on her part, so really none of us are innocent in this. Yeah, I will say, like, 14-year-olds in general, I won't relegate it to just 14-year-old girls, but 14-year-olds in general are really kind of creepy with how they flirt. So if we were doing that the entire time, like, yeah, Amy probably picked up on it. But, you know, that's a 14-year-old. It happens. Also, fuck Amy at the moment, so...
None of it was ever real. The family gatherings, Amy's smiles, Didier's kindness.
Okay, did I miss something? Because Didier, at this point, I have not necessarily seen turn against her. Definitely, if he's doing something with, like, Amy, there's something against his brother. But, like, he just turned us down to becoming a knight. Which is what he would kind of be expected to do this entire time. So, I'm having problems figuring out where he's betrayed us.
Georges. What about Georges? Did he agree to the marriage knowing about them? What the hell are they thinking? You want to know who's really disgusting? God damn it! I will not cry. I will not cry! I can't let myself... Girls cry. Tears are for girls.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we as Michel seem to be under the impression that Didier is actually banging Amy, so... But who knows how right that is. Like, they're just having a conversation, as far as I could tell. So... Men and women can't actually talk, contrary to popular belief.
Not for me. I bit down hard on my lip, wrapped myself in my sheets, and pressed my hands hard over my ears. Squeezed my eyes shut as tight as I could manage. Tried to get away from the things I had seen. Images of them embracing in the night threatened to float back to the surface, but I shook my head, casting them off.
That's fair. Like, it might actually be projection on our part because we wanted to bang her until 15 minutes ago. So we're just like, everybody wants to bang Amy. It's fine.
Praying I wouldn't have any nightmares, I drifted off to sleep. The next day, I awoke with a terrible fever. I hovered in a sweltering wave of heat, unable to tell dream and reality apart, listening to a seemingly endless stream of cracking noises. The sounds were coming from inside my body. I thought I was falling apart. Mother was horribly worried. I had never been the most healthy child, but I had never fallen this ill either. I couldn't get out of bed. My voice was raspy like an old woman's. I was genuinely afraid I would wither away and die. Mother called in doctor after doctor to see me, but all they said was that it was the flu, that bodily pain was common with a fever. While there was a doctor in the house, Mother was able to remain relatively calm, but once they were gone, the anxiety came back. She stayed with me day and night, even foregoing sleep. Her hands gripped mine. They held me fast. She had her head bowed as if in prayer. Don't worry. It'll be all right, Michel. God is watching over you. He will protect you. You are his child. You are his angel sent to earth. He will not forsake you. The doctors say it's just the flu. Though her words seemed to be directed at me, there was a vacantness in her voice, as if they were really for herself. For so long she had wanted a daughter. I couldn't understand her vexation, but seeing her there through my cloudy eyes, I wanted to apologize for ever thinking spending time with her was agonizing. How are you feeling? Your mother's here for you. Don't worry. But the only sound that came from my mouth was a faint gasp. I drifted in and out of sleep, Mother's hand wrapped around my own. And I had numerous dreams. In my dreams, I was a man. In my dreams, I was Didier, and I was Georges. In my dreams, I fell in love with Amy. And in my dreams, I loved her. You're disgusting. But with one word, the dreams twisted into nightmares. My body was torn into fleshy chunks, and I sunk into the darkness. Hmm? Uh, uh? Several days later, my fever was gone, like it had never been there. However, what the? My voice did not recover. And when I attempted to climb from my bed, the murderous pain in my joints came rushing back. Instead of my feet, I landed on my face. Ah! My voice was unbelievably deep. And the pain only got worse. Every time I took a breath, it felt like someone hammering a spike into the back of my neck. It felt like my body was falling apart, like my dreams were becoming reality. Michel? Michel! When Mother scrambled into my chambers, I remembered the time she had spent at my bedside, and a wave of relief came over me. I reached my hand out in a show of vulnerability, but she didn't take it. She couldn't take it. Mother.
Puberty initiated.
What's wrong with your voice, Michel? Ah, I see. You're still not feeling well, are you, Michel?
I mean, we're on the floor, Mother. Like, what? No, I'm feeling fine. I just thought I'd hang out down here. A look of restrained fear on her face, Mother stepped towards me, placing her hand on my forehead. Her palm felt hot against my skin. You don't have a fever, but I hurt all over. My joints. You're still sick, Michel. But don't worry, you'll be fine in no time. Now back to bed with you.
You're a girl. You're a girl, so you shouldn't be sitting on the floor. What? It's bad for your back. Yes, our frail little female backs can't stand sitting on the floor, apparently. As Mother repeated the phrase, "you're a girl," again and again, that nagging sense that something wasn't quite right grew more distinct. Was I really sick? Was this actually my voice now? And if it was, what was I turning into? My voice was certainly not a girl's voice. My voice never went back to normal, though. So Mother ordered me to remain in my room. I hadn't recovered yet, and so long as I was sick, I couldn't be let out. Again, something felt wrong about her calling it a sickness, but I had no evidence to the contrary. I had no way to know I wouldn't get others sick if I exposed them, as she claimed, so I had no choice but to do as she said. In time, Mother too stopped visiting me, and the only people I saw were servants. They did their jobs, but refused to look me in the eye. No one else came to see me, though. Not Amy, Didier, or Georges. 1 month passed, then 2, then 3. Occasionally, the pain in my joints would withdraw. At other times, it would worsen. Whenever I would drift off to sleep, I would hear the sound of my own joints creaking. I would dream of a woman standing in the courtyard, her soft chestnut hair fluttering in the wind as she twirled to face me, a smile on her face and her breasts exposed. Okay, just tits out for dreams. It's called cooties. We will shed our femininity by infecting other people with it. Exactly, there we go. One day, after around 6 months of servants refusing to make eye contact, I stopped one and made a request to have a mirror brought to my room. While he didn't acknowledge me, the next day I had my mirror. By that point, I was fairly certain I knew what was happening to my body. I had no clothes to wear, because none of the multicolored dresses hanging in my wardrobe fit me anymore. Pulling the heavy red cloth covering the mirror aside, my completely naked body came into view. Something resembling a mix of a chuckle and a sigh of pity spilled from my lips. This is me. 6 months. After only 6 months of time, I could hardly recognize myself. Extending my hand for the mirror, I traced the outline of my bony reflection. My shoulders lacked Mother's curves, and my skin Amy's sheen. I was pale and haggard, but structurally, I looked like my brothers. Obviously, being younger than them and not as active, my muscles lacked any kind of strength, but I wouldn't have batted an eye if I saw myself holding a sword. I was a full head taller than I had been 6 months earlier, and I felt an odd certainty that I wasn't done growing either. Okay, I need someone to clarify to me how men go through puberty because I don't remember this happening to my brother when he went through it. It's not just like a instantaneous thing, is it? There we go. We really hope Giselle isn't actually transphobic and is just setting up for a punchline where she calls our junk a malnourished rat as revenge. Uh, okay, I we don't think this is standard puberty. Okay, I'm glad that I have someone else going. No, that's not right. Because I'm over here like maybe it is. I didn't go through that, so like maybe girls get periods and boys just get struck with an unknown sickness that makes them grow an entire foot and you know change suddenly for 6 months. I don't know. Staring at myself in the mirror, I traced my name across the surface. Michelle. Don't need the last two. Michael. We're still technically Michelle, but you know, we're keeping it as Michael so we can differentiate between the two. For the first time in my life, I liked my name. I still didn't think an angel's name suited me one bit, but it was staggering how different it felt now, even if it sounded exactly the same. Those last two letters changed the meaning entirely, turning it from a girl's name to a boy's name. This. Now this makes sense. Everything was falling into place. My admiration for Didier, the envy I had for my brother's bodies, the feelings I had for Amy, the indecent dreams I'd been having. I
I did know about the sudden growth spurts because I remember going, like, leaving school, like, sophomore year, and my best friend in high school, when we came back in the fall for to start junior year, was suddenly like 2 feet taller than I was. So I just can't imagine like trying to buy pants through that. Like, how many pairs of pants do you have to buy in order to get all the way through that growth spurt? Like, ah, yes, I need 8 pairs of jeans in 2 months.
I was always male.
I cackled like a fool for the first time in my life. I laughed so hard at the sight of myself, my stomach hurt. It was the first glimmer of light I had seen in this locked room for far too long. This was what I was supposed to look like. My life until 6 months ago, constricted and uncomfortable. My life as a girl was all a lie. I do want to point out though, like being a girl during this time period would have been absolutely fucking awful. So the fact that more people didn't like pull a Mulan and pretend to be men is just staggering to me. Um, no one could possibly look at me and call me an angel. I was always a boy, but I'd been told I was a girl, forced to act like one. Interesting. I mean, the preferring not to have facial hair, like I get that. But that's really interesting that it wasn't all that noticeable. Especially since like for girls you never quite get away from it or you don't until menopause. So, there's other things that go along with it, but it's still a little bit traumatic, I think. Of course that wouldn't feel right. They needed to know. I couldn't be the only one who understood. Everyone in this house needed to. Fueled by this one desire, I wrapped a sheet over my shoulders and threw open my door. We are going to look absolutely fucking insane. Like, we're out here in a sheet toga going, guess who's back? It seemed ridiculous how long I had followed Mother's instructions and remained cooped up in my room. And now, I felt fantastic. If there truly was a God in heaven, then this change within me was his answer to my prayers. A manservant carrying a tray of food did a double take as I passed him. The farther I proceeded through the corridors, the more eyes I felt on me. The midday sun shone obnoxiously bright through the windows. But now, with its piercing radiation illuminating my proper self, I felt an odd affection for the light. I could hear the family gathered in the great hall. Everyone but me, and now I'm about to come in with sheet toga. Didier's voice complained about the simple meals the church provided, but his pride came through in his laughter. George's voice playfully bragged about life at the royal court. Father's voice informed everyone his investments had borne fruit, and with the money he had purchased several new estates. Mother's voice was distinctly less bright than the rest of the family's. She gave vague, empty indications she was listening, though mostly stayed out of the conversation. Amy's voice sang her praises for George, her beloved husband. Never mind the fact that she was sleeping with Didier. We still don't have confirmation of that, girl. It was all a facade, a mere shadow of a family. It's a shame Michel couldn't be here. Then we would have everyone. I was there. We're going to come up in there like I lived, bitch. I was right there. I hadn't gone anywhere. You had just locked me in my room. I hope she recovers soon. I was never sick at all. No, I think we were actually sick there for a bit. The child you called Michel was actually your son. That was all there was to it.
Huh? Uh, what? Everyone's gazes concentrated on me. I gave them all a quick glance, and then, with my deepened voice, I said, I am cured. I was cured 6 months ago. Who, who are you? Surely you haven't forgotten my face, have you? Father? Uh, Michelle? Michelle? This boy is Michelle? A wave of chatter spread through the hall. Mother went pale. Father objected. Didier stared. Georges gasped. Gaped. I know what I can read. Amy watched cautiously, fear in her eyes. What a farce. They were the ones who had wrongly decided I was a girl. What's going on? Someone tell me, what is the meaning of this? You were dressing your son up like a girl, Mother? I I assumed he was a girl. Otherwise, I wouldn't have. Y- You wouldn't have what? Put my hands on him like that. Okay, I guess that's fair. You lied to me. I would have never agreed to it had I known. No, you're wrong. Michelle is my daughter. You called that a girl? All these months I was worried because you said he was sick. But that was all a lie? You couldn't pass him off as a girl anymore, so you locked him up in his room? Is that what this is? And you could have just stayed. Okay, Amy, I was on your side for another like half a second, and then you're gonna go here. Come on, girl. What possessed you to show yourself now? Stop that! Don't look at me! Don't give me that look! You said you can tell what's going through my mind, didn't you? What? Then you should know exactly how I feel about you right now. Don't be so damned full of yourself. Yeah, I have no interest in a whore like you. Okay, it is family tea hour. So, can't wait to see how this goes badly for us, considering the fact we end up locked in a mansion for 10 years. So why don't you go cry into Didier's arms? Uh, you... What? Huh? What are you talking about? Why Didier? Why not me? What? Hey, anyone want to explain that for me? I like it. The trans rights meme where the flock of sheep says she wasn't lost, we kicked her out, and Jesus carries the sheep back to the flock saying, I know and I found him. That is the very triumphant, like, we have the power of God and anime on our side right now. The sun is shining down on us, and maybe we can't see, but we are having our moment. What had once been a nice family meal was now utter chaos. For the briefest moment, I felt sorry for Georges, but that was wisped away almost immediately. There was a crash from the table, and dishes fell, shattering against the floor. Cursed. A chilling darkness oozed from her voice. She's cursed. She was my daughter. I saw it with my own eyes. I gave birth to her. She was a girl. Michelle was a girl. A malevolent curse has been placed on her. When Mother lifted her head, I had difficulty believing that was the same woman who had sat by my bedside as I lay sick, sacrificing sleep to care for me. Her hair was a frazzled mess, and deep creases covered her face. Restrain her! Throw her in her room and lock the door! She's a girl! A girl! She was a girl, I swear it! I will... Look, I'm not into our brother's, like, whole denial thing at this point, because we are very clearly happy. But I will say, I'm sure that that was a fucking wild thing to wake up to and try to, like, justify in your mind. If the daughter that you had had your entire life suddenly just got sick one day and you didn't recognize your own child. Like, I'm sure that would be absolutely wild, and she may be sitting there going, what the fuck happened? Did my baby get swapped out in the night? Does that happen 14 years later? Like, if her mind is not crumbling, because if I remember correctly, she's gone insane in present day, or whatever present day was, before we died. So this being the thing that kicks it off actually makes a shit ton of sense.
Open your eyes. Do I sound like a girl? Do I look anything like a girl?
Mother's cries sent me into a frenzy. I ripped the sheet off my shoulders, throwing it to the floor.
I am not a girl. Exactly, yeah. We are living in a very early era, and understand her confusion. But man, we are going a very hateful way with it. So,
And shouted,
uh, 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 restrain her. Please, someone restrain her.
Fear reigned in the great hall. But then, several moments of icy silence were broken by a muttering that shocked me as much as anyone else. You're not a boy.
Or a girl. Are we a Ken doll? Like, what is going on here?
What?
What on earth are you?
You're an abomination. You're not a boy.
You're an abomination.
I'm. What? I had seen myself in the mirror. I was undoubtedly male. Lacking in strength though they may have been, I had visible muscles. My chest was flat, and I was taller than a girl should be. My voice was deep, and I had an obvious lump in the middle of my throat. I was male. I had to be male. What else could I be? So
Why was Amy looking at me like some kind of strange creature?
a chill ran down my spine, and I suddenly found myself deeply uncomfortable being so exposed.
To be fair, you are buck naked in front of your family. Like, I don't think you could pay me money to do that.
There's nothing.
Okay, I was joking about the Ken doll thing. Yeah, exactly. The language to understand and describe this stuff doesn't exist yet, but even if it did, Michael was so insulated that he wouldn't have known it anyways. So, okay, apparently there's nothing there.
You've got nothing there. Nothing. There?
I didn't understand what she was talking about.
Unable to press further, I fell silent,
At which point, several servants burst into the great hall and restrained me.
She's a girl. She's my daughter.
Mother, seemingly in a mad daze, just repeated the same thing over and over. She was a girl! As Mother wailed, she wandered off somewhere. Father stood there in silence. Amy stared at me with disgust in her eyes. Georges was still in a panic, and Didier clenched his fists. Eventually, I started regaining my composure, which is when I realized that I had made a mistake. My sickness had been made into a curse. We don't have a malnourished rat, we have a decapitated rat. It sounds I can't tell if we have female parts down there. And that's why they're saying nothing is there, because there's nothing external. I'm trying to like beat around the bush here, but hopefully you understand. Or if we are just completely smooth down there like a Ken doll. That was originally a joke, but I'm starting to wonder when we say that there's nothing down there, like how nothing are we talking here?
I was once more caged up in my room. In addition to the door being locked from the outside, the windows were boarded over so no one could see in, leaving me in perpetual darkness. I received no visitors except the servants, and again none of them would look me in the eye.
Yeah, maybe it's like Sadako, but with nothing outside.
Every day was the same, day in and day out, day in and day out. The only time the routine changed was when, on occasion, a servant would arrive bearing a letter. It was my mother's handwriting on the parchment. We lived in the same house, yet she refused to show herself before me. I had no choice but to respond to her letters. She demanded I speak like a girl, and I didn't have the strength to defy her. There was a constant sense of urgency to her letters, like she might fall apart completely at any second.
We're in Namekian.
And so I did as she said. I signed each letter Michel, the female name she bestowed upon me at birth, which I so despised. Every time I used that name, I felt like I was denying my own identity. On paper, she expressed her concern for me, but that concern only served to cause me more pain. So every time I took up my quill, my hands trembled. Mother prayed daily that my curse might one day be broken. Am I cursed? Is that why my body changed? Was it not Because I was male? There's nothing there. What did she mean by that? Why did she look at me the way that she did?
Has no one started publishing anatomy? Or do we just not have any nudie books around?
How am I an abomination? Why? I don't understand. Someone, anyone, please tell me. Someone, please.
You do have to figure out a male version of Abby, and I salute you. Albert? That doesn't feel maybe like Abby. I don't know.
I have brought your supper. I will be back shortly to retrieve your dishes. I'll be going then. Wait, what? Wait a minute. Y- yes? What do you need, Michelle? Are you a man or a woman?
Pardon?
Which are you? I am exactly what I appear to be.
Are you a fucking sphinx? Like, why are you talking in riddles, my dude? Gail. Which are you?
I am a man.
If that is all, I will be going now.
Clothes off.
What?
Take your clothes off. Right now. Everything. Even your underclothes.
Okay, we're getting real weird with the poor servants. Please, they're just here to do their job.
But surely you jest, Michelle. I am very serious.
I I could not possibly.
Why not?
I could not expose myself.
I ordered you to take off your clothes.
You mean to humiliate me? I beg you, please reconsider. What are you? You're a servant of the Bollinger estate. Uh, and what am I? I am a child of the Bollinger family. I may be locked up, imprisoned in this room, but that doesn't make you any less my servant. Am I wrong?
Um,
Clothes off.
Michelle. I,
I ordered you to take your clothes off.
uh, uh,
Okay, well, this feels like an abuse of power. Not even the tiniest sliver of guilt arose in my conscience. I felt no shame in what I was doing. All that mattered to me was figuring out what Amy had meant. I wanted to find the truth, not knowing I would have been better off in the dark. His face twisted in humiliation, the servant undressed before me. In the dim candlelight, the man's body was shaped almost like a rectangle. And at a glance, he didn't appear much different from me. A second later, though, I found my answer. I found the one crucial thing he had that I didn't. Yeah, we just don't know what a penis is yet. I don't know how we went 14 years without ever seeing one, but she did grow up very sheltered, I guess. Like, did no one kick her brothers in the balls in front of her? Did she, him? Like, yeah, we're really sheltered. Like, was there never a moment of doubt, like, hey, that doesn't happen to me?
why?
My lower body lacked the part that made a man a man. Are you satisfied, Michelle? It was then that I finally learned what a man's body was supposed to look like. To be fair, we probably could have found it out much earlier, thanks to our brother's drunken friend. I'm glad we didn't, but also we would have figured it out by then, so. I'm begging you, please allow me to dress. It would be an unbearable shame to remain unclothed any longer. I want to know. There we go. We're like Goku. We can't tell sexes unless we pat someone on the crotch. Like, Does Michael know where babies come from? Has he had the talk? Or are we still on the stork bullshit? Like, before the young bull and your daughter. Daughter? You still insist on calling me a damned girl? Look at these shoulders, my chest, listen to my voice. How can you possibly think that any of that belongs to a girl? But how you appear does not. There was a distinct look of fear in the manservant's eyes, not out of respect for our difference in rank, but out of disgust for this incomprehensible thing standing there before him. Those trembling eyes, and the reality dangling there before me, blew the lid once more off everything I had been holding back. Is this dude able to put his clothes back on now? Is he just standing here naked? Without that, he would be no different from me. What? Everything else is all the same. It's about what's in your pants. I don't have anything in my pants. So why? Why does it make such a difference? That you have one and I don't. Michel? I I am a man. I'm a man just like you. I am no one's daughter. And if you still insist that we're not the same, then I'll make you like me. Okay. We went real fucking fast there. Usually I'm the one advocating for that first, but without that, you're no different from me. It was a mix of dread and panic that pushed me over the edge. And so, in order to keep myself afloat, I decided to bring another pain. Please don't do this, Michelle. In a blind frenzy, hardly even aware of what I was doing, just riding the current of my erupting emotions. Oh my god, are we going to cut this man's dick off? This dude did not do anything. I swiped a knife off the tray that the man had brought, knocked him down, and climbed onto him. Oh no. I'll get rid of it. I'll make you the same. Without it, you'll be just like me. Get off me, please. Someone help. I'll make you just like me. What are we stabbing? Can I hear someone? Anyone? Michelle. She's delirious. Through the fog of hysteria, I suddenly realized that I was surrounded by several servants, and the next thing I knew, I was on the floor beneath them. There were as many, if not more of them, than when I had made the scene in the Great Hall. Okay. Regardless of how this scene actually went, if we did just cut someone's dick off, I'm kind of understanding the exile now. Like, we can't do that to people. At all. A dozen men servants stared down at me, their eyes filled with fear and revulsion. And in the shadows beyond the crowd, I saw Mother looking in on me with vacant eyes. Mother. Mother, why will you only speak to me through letters? If we only cut off the testicles, it's castration. If it's both the penis and the scrotum, it's emasculation. We had like 3 different sounds there, so I don't know if we took off the balls separately or if this man is also now missing a leg. He's not having a good day, we'll just put it that way. Why do you say I'm cursed? Mother, I'm male. I was always male. Tell me that I am, Mother. Let me out of here, please. I'm not delirious. My head is perfectly clear. You just... This poor servant. I'm normal. There's nothing wrong with me. We did cut off his third leg. He was really packing. I'm not cursed. Mother, say something. Mother! After that, I was shut in my room again. And even the servants stopped coming. Can we get an update on what happened to that poor guy? I pushed and I shoved and I pulled and I pounded with all my strength, but the door and the window didn't budge. A day passed, and then another. With no food or water, I started fearing death was upon me. I'd had no idea how miserable it was to go so long without water. My throat was dry and cracked, and it felt like it was on fire, making breathing difficult. Yeah, I mean, you can't really argue that we don't deserve to be exiled now. I don't I don't know what modern medicine was in that time. Ye old medicine. Um, but I don't know if he's gonna survive that even. We may have just killed a man by cutting off his dick. Uh, 2 days. 48 long hours. I felt like I was going to lose my mind. After just 2 days, my skin stretched tight across my bones, looking hard and dry in the soft candlelight. Water. I need water. Exactly. We don't deserve transphobia, but we do deserve exile after that. Someone, please, give me water. I kind of understand also now why his family may not have reacted quite as nicely to the letter that he sent to them telling them he was coming back. Like, ignoring any of that. If your serial killer sibling said that, hey, I'm fine now, I'm going to come back, I've decided it's my turn. Yeah, I probably wouldn't necessarily be thrilled either. Look, if he's smart, he will make a strap out of what he just created. I don't know if he's got materials, but he did learn how to use a needle and thread. So, just putting that out there. Why won't anyone bring me any? Because the last guy who came and brought you food, you attacked. You cut off his poor dick. Why? He's clearly not using it anymore. Why can't I have it? My family had abandoned me and were leaving me to die in this room. When I realized that, I broke into uncontrollable shaking. The helplessness threatened to suffocate me. Fear of death turned into panic, which only scrambled my already confused mind further. I grabbed a chair, swinging it at the window, at the door. But all my attempts ended in crushing failure. Anyone! I clawed at the door, begging for help. Someone, open the door! Anyone! Water! I need water! One drop, that's all I need. I'm going to die in here. Someone! Anyone! Mother? Father? Didier! Georges! Someone open the door, please! Help me! Someone! I need water. My throat hurts. It burns. I'm so weak. Someone, water! Didier! Georges! Anyone! But not a single soul came to the door. With no food or water, the third day came and went. And then the fourth. By that point, I was expectedly devoid of any sense of dignity. I sat there, covered in all manner of human filth, as my body quickly wasted away. Still, I clung to the vain hope that someone would open that door. It was all I had. Occasionally, I would hear footsteps. Whenever I did, I mustered up what meager strength I had left to bang on the door. Whoever's there, please, open the door. I'm begging you. Someone. But my pleas fell on deaf ears. Though they didn't respond to me, I could hear the Abigails muttering to one another in the corridor. Did you hear that? Yes, I did. I wonder what's gotten into Lady Michel. They say she was cursed. Maybe she sold her soul to the devil. How dreadful. We should stay away from that door, if we don't want to be cursed too. Just send us some bread and a cup, and we promise not to use any of them as a knife. I'm not. I'm not cursed. I did not sell my soul to the devil. I'm kind of scared. I might have to find work somewhere else. Gotta make sure we stay away from that door. Why do you think I'm cursed? I never did anything wrong. You just paused. Michael, I love you, but what?
Lady Michelle has lost her mind. She's deranged. I'm scared. I'm scared even thinking about her.
I'm not deranged. My mind is perfectly fine.
She's right crazy.
She's right mad.
No,
I'm not. I'm perfectly normal. Someone, someone, please get me out of here.
The fifth and then the sixth day passed. And by that point, I was hovering on death's brink.
How many days can you go without water? I thought it was like 3.
I lacked even the willpower to hold myself up against the door. So I simply lay on the cold floor, waiting for the end. I felt no sorrow, no anger, no despair. Nothing. I'd been sucked completely dry. I couldn't even compose a coherent thought. Which is why, when the door I had so yearned to open actually did, and someone stepped inside, standing over me, I was unable to process it. My God, what a mess. Hey, are you still alive? Uh, uh,
Well, look at that. I was afraid you would be dead.
it was Amy's voice. I'm sorry, really. I didn't mean you much harm. But after what you said in front of the whole family, I was a little upset. I couldn't tell what she was saying. All I could hear were garbled sounds, and all I could do was moan at her. The servants are all afraid of you now after your little episode.
I don't know. Is it 3 days since last drinking water or 3 days since last after being completely out of water out of excreting? I thought it was 3 days after last drinking water, but I could be completely wrong there. So,
So I volunteered to bring you your food in their place. Everyone was so grateful. I don't think anyone likes you anymore. Eventually, my muddy mind managed to make sense of the thing she was holding in her hands. A tray of food. I could smell it from here. At first, I just gave you your food. I just gave your food to a stray cat.
girl, every once in a while, I think that maybe she's not as bad as she seems, and yeah.
I wish you could have seen it devouring every last bit.
Sir.
What I didn't know, though, was that people can die in just a few days without water. I never intended to kill you. I just didn't know. So I'm really sorry about that.
Water.
But you're alive. For someone so physically weak, you sure are tenacious. Isn't that nice? You have one thing you can be proud of.
Sir.
What was that?
Water?
You want water? Hold on, I've got some right here. She picked up a goblet with her delicate fingers. My hand swiped weakly at the air, trying to grab it. A grin spread across her lips, and then she let go.
Of course she did.
Go on. Drink. You'd better hurry, or the rub will absorb it all.
You wanted water, didn't you?
Then drink. In that moment, I could hear the sound of the last of my dignity crumbling away. Driven solely by my survival instinct, I bent down towards the rug, pressing my lips against the spreading puddle.
You really did it. This is too good, Michelle. You look like a cat.
No, cats are much more graceful.
I can't stop laughing. The daughter of a prestigious family, the Bollingers, sucking water out of a carpet. Is she just trying to ruin this family? Because, like, little bit of fair play depending on what they've done to her. I wish I had a painter here to capture this image on canvas. Did Amy reincarnate into Maria? Like, that was kind of my thought, too. There's been some interesting beats that we have replicated because like the being not wanting to be married off into a family, we saw that with Nellie. We're seeing this with Maria. And she kind of seemed like Pauline at the beginning, although Pauline didn't turn into a piece of shit. So,
So you know, I accept that I made a mistake, Michelle. I promise I'll bring you your food from now on. I'll take very good care of you. This is going to be fun. Listening to her childish yet deeply malicious laughter, I understood. I was her plaything now. My hell was only just beginning. Having gotten food and water, my body recovered somewhat, but I was hardly in peak condition. That would take some time given how badly malnourished I had been. Amy continued to treat me like her pet, constantly stoking the flame of rage within me. But I was too weak to stay on my feet for long, and talking hurt my throat. I assume it was a calculated effort on her part to maintain power over me, to keep me as miserable as possible. She always had a smirk on her face as she gazed down on me. Come on, open up. Today I'm going to feed you myself. What's the matter? I can't put anything in with your mouth closed. Or do you want to starve to death? Amy, why are you doing this? Why? Because it's fun. Why else? You married into this family, you sick wench. What gives you the idea? You can treat me. Are you saying that because I'm married in, I'm of lesser stature than you? That's true, I am. But what's your point? You think you can intimidate me with formalities? Amy! Ew. I would rather you not speak my name if you wouldn't mind. That doesn't excuse your treatment of me. Someone, Didier or Georges, will make you pay for this. You don't have a single friend here, Michel. No one to take your side. And no one to say a thing about me playing with you. Assuming you were somehow able to tell someone, no one would believe you. That's a lie. Do you have any idea what people say about you? They say you've gone mad. That you've sold your soul to the devil. Do you honestly believe anyone would trust you? I I am not mad. I don't know, you look plenty mad to me. Fine, then I'll run away. I'll escape from this estate and from you. You think you could survive out in the world with that body? A stray cat could lift more than you. You'd never find work. I give you a week at best. You can't be serious. You can't be so sure of that, I can read. Maybe I could make it on my own. Maybe. But either way, there's no way you're getting out. You try to run, someone might just cut your legs off. How is that at all necessary? Don't ask me. Maybe because your curse hasn't broken. You know, you're lucky you're even allowed to live. And you should be grateful to me for volunteering to take care of you. Nobody else wanted to have anything to do with it. So if you want to keep living, you have to show me some respect, and you have to do everything I tell you to. Understood? So this is the real you? You were just pretending to be respectable? When in reality, not only are you sleeping with Didier, you're a downright vile woman. You've been putting on an act ever since you got here. Oh, you make it sound like I'm somehow worse than anyone else. I'm quite normal, thank you. How is this normal? Listen to me, Michelle. The side of me you see right now isn't necessarily the whole thing. The sweet girl I am for the family is also me. And when I held you in my arms, that too was me. I'm not putting on an act. Liar! Although, to tell you the truth, I never actually liked you, so that part was a lie, yes. If Mother hadn't asked, I would have never even considered getting friendly with you. Amy, you know, life as a noblewoman is so dull. It's so restrictive. No room for love at all. So can you really blame me? There so happened to be the most wonderful night right there for the taking. Why shouldn't I have gone after him? I'm still young. Let me have some fun, you know. Not like women have much else in the way of recreation. So it wasn't Didier, but you who seduced him? Okay, if it's consensual, it's a two-way thing. Your brother's just as guilty, my dude. And it all would have worked out beautifully, too, if you had only kept your mouth shut. You ruined our family gathering and damaged my reputation. And you called me a whore. That wasn't very nice now, was it? Is it any surprise I'm a little sore? You brought this on yourself, Michelle. I brought this on myself? Don't you dare! Nothing justifies what you're doing to me. I'm not the disturbed one. You're a crazy whore, and don't you try and pretend otherwise, damn you. Oh my, such language. You're not being very nice to me, Michelle. Girls aren't supposed to talk like that, you know. I'm not a girl. Then what are you? I'm I'm a man. A man? With that body? Amy quietly rose, grabbed me by the hair, and shoved me to the floor. Let go of me! You call yourself a man? You can't even get out of a girl's grip. I'm not all that strong either. In fact, I'd say I'm rather weak. Just a small, powerless girl. If you were a man, you would have no problem breaking free, malnourished or otherwise. But you can't. Good. She traced the lines of my emaciated ribs with her nails, traveling slowly, slowly, down my chest. But even ignoring that, you're missing the most important part. Stop! Get off me! I tried to shove her aside with all the strength I could squeeze out of my arms. But as Amy had said, I couldn't even overpower a girl. All I could do was lie there beneath her and beg. Get off me! Groaning in anger and frustration. Her finger came to a stop just above my navel. She looked up at me with a sweet smile, and then pulled her hand away. And just as a wave of relief spread through me, she shoved me back, jumped up, and slammed her foot between my legs. I shuddered as the pain jolted up my spine. Amy looked down on me as I screamed. A smirk spread across her face. Oh my, does that hurt? There's a surprise. Even without boy parts, it still hurts. It does still hurt, actually. Stop, please. And she didn't stop at stepping on me. I, I'm begging you, stop, please. She dug her toes into my flesh. What are you exactly, Michelle? From the feel of it, you don't quite have proper girl parts either. Amy, please. On top of the physical pain, unbearable humiliation and shame corroded away at my spirit. What a strange creature you are. Stop. Stop. If I could have died right then and there, honestly, that would have been preferable to the emotional hell she was putting me through. You should take a look at yourself in a mirror, Michelle. You're crying, sobbing like a sad little girl. Not much of a boy, are you? And you lusted after me. With this body? Seriously, like, if this is when we make our deal with Morgana, like, I cannot wait to find out what happens to Amy. Seriously, you're disgusting. I can't believe you actually had the gall to fall for me. I think we're gonna stop here. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. Just because we are running low on time. And I mean, this all is bad. There's nothing good here. But next stream is, let's see, today's Sunday, so Tuesday, 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific. We might shift it a little bit earlier, so do watch on Twitter. Trying to think if I have any announcements. I don't believe so.
So thanks for hanging out. Be back on Tuesday. Have a good week, everyone.